I was dead for 6 minutes. Not asleep, not unconscious. Dead enough that the room was already changing its tone around me. Voices tightening, movement speeding up. Someone saying my name like they were trying to pull it back from somewhere it didn't want to return from. My name is Jock Column. I was 17 years old. I didn't see a tunnel at first. I didn't feel peace right away. What I felt was distance. Like the world had been set down gently, and I had taken one step too far away from it. Sound didn't disappear. It thinned, like a radio drifting out of range. I knew I had a body. I just wasn't in it. The strange part wasn't fear. It was clarity. I understood instantly that something final had happened. Not symbolically, not emotionally, practically. Like realizing a door had closed behind you and the handle was gone. I could still think. That shocked me more than anything else. I remember noticing how calm my thoughts were. No panic, no rushing, just awareness. Clean, sharp. The way your mind feels very late at night when everyone else is asleep and you're the only one awake in the house. I didn't think about my future. I didn't think about my family. I didn't even think about dying. I only thought one thing, very clearly. This is different than I expected. I didn't float upward. I didn't fall. There was no movement at all. Just a sudden understanding that whatever rules had applied a second earlier were no longer in charge. Later, doctors would tell me my heart had stopped. They would argue quietly about timing and oxygen and probability. They would say the word lucky more than once. None of them could explain why I came back knowing things I had never learned. Or why, even now, years later, part of me still feels like I never fully did. Before that day, my life was ordinary in the most boring way possible. School, practice, homework I half finished. Music playing through one earbud because teachers hated when both were in. I worried about things that felt huge at the time and now feel almost embarrassing to admit. Grades, friends, whether I was wasting my time, whether I mattered to people who barely noticed me. I didn't think about death. Not seriously. It was something that happened to old people or strangers on the news. It had nothing to do with my body, my plans, or the next weekend. I believed life worked on momentum. If you kept moving, things kept going. If something bad happened, it was usually someone else's fault or bad luck or a story that started too far away to reach me. I wasn't religious. I wasn't against it either. I just didn't see the point. God felt like a background concept adults argued about when they ran out of real problems to solve. If you asked me back then what I believed, I would have said I believed in being decent, in not hurting people, in figuring things out as I went. That felt enough. I had a body that worked, lungs that filled, a heart that didn't cross my mind. I assumed it would keep doing its job without needing my attention. That's the dangerous part of normal life. It convinces you that tomorrow is automatic. That day didn't feel important. I didn't wake up with a sense of warning. No strange thoughts. No heavy feeling in my chest. Just another day moving forward on rails I trusted without questioning. I remember laughing about something stupid not long before it happened. That memory bothers me more than the silence that came after. The moment itself didn't feel dramatic. There was no build-up. No slow realization that something was wrong. 1 second I was there, and the next second my body failed like a switch being flipped without warning. My chest tightened. Not pain exactly. More like pressure, deep and wrong. I tried to breathe and realized the breath didn't come back the way it was supposed to. I remember thinking, very briefly, that I should sit down. That thought didn't finish. The world tilted. Not visually. Internally. Like gravity had changed direction just for me. Sound dropped out in chunks. I heard someone say my name, but it sounded delayed, like it was traveling through water. Then nothing worked. I didn't feel myself fall. I didn't feel the floor. My hands didn't catch anything. There was no impact. The body just stopped reporting. It's hard to explain how fast it happened. There was no time to be scared. Fear needs time. This took it away. The last physical sensation I remember was heat in my face and cold in my fingers. Both at the same time. That contrast stuck with me. After that, there was a clean break. Not darkness. Not black. Just absence of physical feedback. Like unplugging from a machine you didn't realize you were attached to. Later, I was told my heart had gone into a rhythm it couldn't recover from on its own. 6 minutes passed before it started again. I didn't experience those minutes as waiting. For me, The moment the body failed and the moment I was no longer inside it were the same moment. Everything else happened somewhere else. Awareness returned before sight did. I knew where I was without knowing how I knew. That's the only way I can say it. There was a sense of location without direction, like understanding a room with your eyes closed. Then I noticed the body. It was below me, not far, close enough that I recognized it instantly, but distant in a way that made it feel irrelevant. It looked smaller than I expected, heavier too, like something abandoned. People were around it, moving fast, hands pressing, voices clipped and urgent. I could hear them clearly, but they didn't seem to hear me at all. That's when the strange calm settled in. I wasn't floating. I wasn't rising. I was simply not attached. The connection that had always been there was gone, and I understood that without panic. Like realizing you've taken off a backpack you wore so long you forgot it wasn't part of you. I recognized my own face. That should have felt intimate. It didn't. It felt factual, like recognizing a jacket you used to own. What surprised me most was how quiet my thoughts were. No racing. No confusion. No urge to intervene. I didn't try to get back in. I didn't try to move closer. It felt final. Not dramatic. Just settled. I understood something without words then. The body was no longer where decisions happened. That realization didn't scare me. It grounded me. I remember noticing details I had never cared about before. The rhythm of movements. The tension in shoulders. The way people lean forward when they want something to work badly enough. I also noticed something else. I wasn't alone. Not in the room. Not watching. Something else was present, just outside the edge of what I could perceive. It wasn't a figure yet. More like pressure. Like standing near something powerful and feeling it before you see it. That presence didn't rush me. It waited. I didn't turn toward the presence. I didn't have to. It made itself known without movement, without sound, without forcing my attention. One moment, it was background awareness, and the next moment, it was everything else falling quiet around it. There was no fear in that shift, no alarm, just recognition. The presence felt personal, not familiar, but intentional, like being looked at in a way that sees past explanations and excuses without judging them. I didn't see a face right away. What I felt first was weight, not physical weight, importance, density, like standing near something ancient and realizing it has nothing to prove. My thoughts slowed even more. Words felt unnecessary. Whatever this was, it didn't require language to communicate. Then I understood who it was. Not because a name was spoken, not because I had been taught. The understanding arrived whole, the way you understand gravity without seeing it. Jesus. That realization didn't trigger emotion the way you'd expect. No sudden devotion. No awe-filled collapse. Just clarity. I hadn't been wrong about everything, but I hadn't been right either. The presence wasn't glowing. It didn't shine. There were no wings or light pouring out. It was calm in a way that made everything else feel noisy by comparison. I became aware of myself in a new way. Not my body, my inner posture, my assumptions, the things I carried as facts that were actually guesses. I expected to feel evaluated. Instead, I felt understood. Not agreed with. Understood. That distinction mattered. Nothing was demanded. Nothing was explained. The silence itself felt deliberate, like it was creating space for something I hadn't faced yet. And then, without accusation or comfort, one truth settled into me. I had misunderstood what belief was. I had always thought belief was about certainty, about picking a side and defending it, about answers. That idea collapsed instantly. In that presence, belief felt more like alignment. Less about what you say and more about what direction you lean when no one is watching. I realized something uncomfortable. I hadn't rejected God. I had ignored him. I had lived as if neutrality was harmless, as if staying undecided meant staying safe. That assumption didn't survive the moment it was exposed. There was no lecture, no list of failures, just awareness expanding, like light revealing dust you didn't know was floating in the air. I saw how often I chose convenience over truth, how often I confused being kind with avoiding discomfort, how often I told myself that time would sort things out so I wouldn't have to. None of that was presented as guilt. It was presented as fact. The most unsettling part was realizing how confident I had been while missing the point entirely. I believed that as long as I wasn't hurting anyone, I was fine. That belief was incomplete. Not wrong. Incomplete. I sensed disappointment, but not directed at me. Directed at the waste. The unused capacity. The unopened doors. It became clear that belief wasn't passive. You didn't drift into it accidentally. You leaned toward it, or you leaned away. And I had been leaning away without realizing I was moving at all. That understanding didn't come with punishment. It came with choice. The space around us shifted, not visually, but in meaning. Like the pause before a question you can't avoid answering. Something was about to be shown. Not explained. Shown. The space opened without moving. One moment there was only presence, and the next there were two directions. Not paths in the physical sense. More like two states of becoming, existing side by side. I didn't stand at a crossroads. I felt one. To my left was movement. Quiet, steady, deliberate. It didn't promise comfort. It didn't advertise anything. It simply continued forward, disappearing into something deeper than sight. To my right was stillness that looked like rest. Warm. Familiar. Easy to enter. Neither was labeled. No voice told me which was which. No warning signs. No reward descriptions. That was the point. I understood that both were available to me. Not later. Not someday. Always. Every day I had lived so far had been a step toward one or the other, even when I told myself I wasn't choosing at all. The left direction felt narrow. Not restrictive, but focused. Like committing your weight instead of shifting it around. The right direction felt wide. Open. Padded. It felt forgiving in a way that didn't require anything from me. I noticed something subtle. The left demanded attention. Presence. A willingness to be uncomfortable. The right asked nothing. I realized I had spent most of my life drifting right without ever meaning to. There was no urgency in the moment. No pressure to decide now. Just a quiet understanding that neutrality wasn't real. Standing still was already movement. Jesus didn't point. Didn't guide. Didn't speak. He simply remained present as I saw myself clearly for the first time. Not as a bad person. As an uncommitted one. And that realization cut deeper than judgment ever could. The scene shifted again, smoothly, like turning your head and finding yourself somewhere else entirely. I was surrounded by comfort. Soft light. Familiar structures. Everything arranged to feel reassuring. It reminded me of places designed to make you stay longer than you intended. People were there. Smiling. Relaxed. Busy with small tasks that looked important up close, but empty from a distance. No one seemed unhappy. That's what made it unsettling. There was laughter, but it didn't echo. Conversations happened, but they never went anywhere. Time passed, but nothing aged. It felt safe. Too safe. I noticed that no one looked up. Not once. Their focus stayed inward, downward, circular. They weren't suffering. They were stalled. This place didn't feel evil. That's what shocked me. It felt harmless. And I understood immediately why it was dangerous. Nothing here required honesty. Nothing challenged anyone to grow or change or confront anything beyond themselves. Everything was padded, rounded, softened. I felt myself wanting to sit down, to blend in, to rest. That pull was strong. Then I noticed something missing. There was no depth, no silence, no space for truth to land. The comfort wasn't fake. It just wasn't alive. I sensed that people could stay here indefinitely without realizing they had stopped moving altogether. Jesus didn't condemn the place. He let me feel it fully. And in that fullness, I understood why false safety is harder to leave than pain. Pain wakes you up. Comfort lets you sleep forever. The final vision didn't look symbolic at first. It looked like life. Scenes unfolded the way memories do. Ordinary moments. People doing the right things. Smiling at the right times. Saying the right words. Being seen as good, stable, successful. On the surface, everything worked. Then I became aware of what couldn't be seen. Inside those moments were fractures. Quiet ones. Small compromises stacked on top of each other until they formed a shape no one recognized anymore. I saw kindness used as cover. Morality worn like clothing. Beliefs spoken without being lived. No one here was pretending on purpose. That was the hardest part. They genuinely believed appearance and truth were the same thing. I saw myself in those scenes. Versions of me choosing what looked right instead of what was right. choosing approval over alignment, choosing ease over honesty. Nothing dramatic happened in these moments. No collapse, no disaster, just slow erosion. That's what stayed with me. I realized that truth doesn't announce itself. It doesn't force its way forward. It waits quietly, whether you're ready or not. Outer life can look clean while inner life grows hollow. No one else sees that hollowing, but it still shapes you. Jesus didn't separate people into groups, didn't rank anyone, didn't compare. He let me see the cost of living divided. Not punished, just diminished. And I understood something without needing it explained. What you become inside eventually outweighs everything you build outside, even if no one ever notices. The urgency didn't arrive like a threat. It arrived like pressure. Not crushing, not panicked. More like realizing the air is thinner than you thought, and you've been breathing shallow without noticing. Time felt different here. Not faster, not slower, denser. Each moment felt full, like it mattered simply by existing. I understood that time wasn't scarce in the way people talk about it. It wasn't running out like sand. It was being used, whether I paid attention or not. That was the warning. Nothing dramatic was shown. No disasters. No collapsing world. No numbers, no dates, no countdowns. Just the weight of realization that delay itself shapes direction. I saw how often people wait for clarity before moving, not realizing clarity comes after movement. How often they tell themselves they'll change later, when later quietly becomes a pattern. The urgency wasn't about fear. It was about honesty. I sensed that life keeps offering chances to align, but it doesn't slow down to make sure you notice them. Opportunities don't announce themselves. They blend in with routine, with distraction, with comfort. What struck me most was how gentle the warning felt. No raised voice, no command, just the knowledge that attention matters more than intention, that you don't drift into what's true by accident. The pressure wasn't pushing me forward. It was reminding me that standing still was already movement. And that awareness, once seen, can't be unseen. The return didn't feel like going home. It felt like being forced back into something that no longer fit. There was resistance, not dramatic struggle, but a deep reluctance. Like trying to put on clothes that suddenly felt too tight everywhere. I felt the body before I saw it. Weight rushed in. Noise. Density. Pain that didn't localize at first, just spread like static through every nerve. Breath came back harsh and unfamiliar. My chest burned. My limbs felt distant, uncooperative, heavy. Confusion followed immediately. Not about where I was, but why. The presence faded without leaving. That's the only way I can describe it. Like a warmth stepping back, but not disappearing entirely. I heard voices again, sharper now. Panic mixed with relief. Someone swore. Someone laughed shakily. My thoughts fragmented. Memory blurred. The clarity I had just lived inside started slipping away, not all at once, but like fog creeping back in. I remember wanting to say something. Anything. My mouth didn't work. My body reclaimed control slowly, reluctantly, like it wasn't sure it wanted me back either. As sensation returned, so did limitation. The silence was gone. The simplicity was gone. And with a strange grief I couldn't explain, I realized I was fully alive again. I don't talk about this often. Not because I'm afraid of sounding strange, but because words flatten what happened. They turn something precise into something vague. I came back with no proof I can hand you. No image I can show. No argument that wins debates. What stayed with me wasn't information. It was awareness. Life feels louder now. More fragile. More intentional. Small choices carry weight I never noticed before. I don't walk around scared. I don't live in constant seriousness. I still laugh at stupid things. I still procrastinate. I still forget. But I don't assume tomorrow anymore. I don't confuse comfort with safety. And I don't mistake being undecided for being neutral. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I only know that whatever we think we're postponing isn't standing still. It's quietly shaping us while we're busy elsewhere. That day didn't make me perfect. It made me attentive. And sometimes, late at night, when everything goes quiet, I still feel that pressure. Not fear. Reminder that this life is real, that it's moving, and that awareness, once it arrives, asks something of you, even if no one else ever knows.